Archaeologists have been exploring our planet for centuries, trying to find evidence of prehistoric civilizations all around the world. While some believe there are no more of these civilizations left to discover, a recent discovery deep in the Amazon jungle proves that some ancient civilizations have yet to be uncovered. In today's video, we'll be revealing how scientists just found an untouched civilization on top of a mountain in the Amazon jungle. The Amazon rainforest holds some of the most unexplored areas of land on the entire planet, covering a vast area of over 7 million square kilometers of protected natural rainforest. There are yet many mysteries and locations which the forest holds. One of the most recent discoveries is the ancient city of Machu Picchu, which existed during the reign of the Inca Empire. According to anthropologists, it is believed the city of Machu Picchu was built during the early 1500s. Hidden deep in the Amazon jungles, Machu Picchu was left untouched and undiscovered for well over 400 years before the official discovery was made back in 1911 by Yale history professor Hiram Bingham. The construction of this great city was believed to have been carried out by the great Inca ruler Pachacuti Inca Yupanqui, who ruled between the years 1438 and 1471. The city was believed to have been constructed as a magnificent royal estate reserved only for the ruler himself and members of nobility within his high court. Although the city was considered a royal estate, it would not have passed down the traditional line of succession, as it was a magnificent but private city palace of the ruler himself. Due to the personal and private nature of the ancient city, there are very few recorded facts about its construction and day-to-day activities. Scientists had to rely heavily on radiocarbon dating and on-site excavation to determine how this ancient city was built and how they constructed such magnificent stone structures back when they were cut off from the rest of the world. It is believed that the city must have been occupied for less than a century before being abandoned as a result of the Spanish invasion of the Inca Empire. The entire city of Machu Picchu was divided into two main areas: the upper town area, which carries the urban sector and houses the palaces, temples, and living quarters, and then the lower town area, which carries the agricultural sector. The architecture of the entire city is constructed to adapt to the shape of the mountain on which it was built. Well over 200 buildings stood in this ancient city, with several compounds all arranged in a parallel terrace system in line with the shape of the mountain. The ancient Inca people were able to build stone stairways set within the walls of each building to give access to different levels across the city, such that one could navigate much of the city without having to step foot outside. To the eastern part of the city were the residential areas and living quarters, and then to the western areas were the temples and stone structures constructed for sacrificial and ceremonial purposes. The western area also housed the Torreon, which archaeologists believe must have been a massive tower that was used by the ancient Incas as an observatory to study the stars and the surrounding forest areas. As the royal estate of the ruler of the Inca Empire, the city of Machu Picchu only housed about 750 people, most of which were serving staff who served the ruler and the noblemen who resided in the mountain city. The massive workforce wasn't just made up of workers and farmers, but also religious specialists and wise men of the Inca Empire who all catered to the well-being of the ruler and his prestigious court. The entire city was filled with centuries-old monuments and historical structures, one of which was the ancient Intihuatana stone. This was one of many ritual stones found in the ancient Inca Empire and was strategically arranged to point directly to the sun on the winter solstice. The Inca believed the stone had the power to hold the sun in place during the solstice, as it would almost be directly above the stone, such that it cast no shadow on any side. Other prominent structures found on the site included the Inti Maqui, which was a special cave used in celebrating the royal feast of the sun. During the celebration, local boys that have come of age were initiated into manhood and were ceremoniously pierced in the ear and would be required to stand inside the cave and watch the sunrise. The cave was constructed in such a way that the windows of the building were unique in that they only allow sunlight to pass into the cave during the summer solstice in December. The Incas were master stone builders, which is evident in other ancient cities found around the Amazon rainforest depicting the ancient Inca Empire. Machu Picchu was one such city in that buildings were built with blocks of stone that were cut to fit tightly and perfectly together without the use of mortar. This was due to the fact that the entire city was built on fault lines that run underneath the mountain. The section of the mountain that housed Machu Picchu was prone to seismic activities due to these fault lines, and as such made building stable structures a challenge, as even the most minor earthquake would rock the stones out of place. The ancient Inca people found a solution to this problem as they cut each stone to perfection and shaped them in such a way that they would fit perfectly, with spaces less than 0.02 centimeters between each stone placement. This resulted in the most stable structures that have survived several earthquakes that have plagued the region for centuries. A detailed study of skeletal remains found in and around the city indicates that most of the people who lived in Machu Picchu were immigrants from different parts of the continent. Most of the skeletal remains lacked the chemical markers that would have been present had they been living on the mountaintop their whole life. Instead, these remains bear the markers of certain bacteria and water parasites that were not indigenous to this area of the Amazon jungle. Seeing as how the primary sources of food in Machu Picchu were maize, potatoes, and legumes, most of the skeletal remains were found to have consumed more fish than corn, which indicated that they might have migrated from coastal areas to work on Machu Picchu. Most of these remains were found to have lower levels of bone fracture and arthritis, which was significantly lesser than most individuals found in the Inca Empire. This was because the Inca people were more prone to arthritis and bone fractures as a result of heavy physical labor in farming, as well as those serving the Inca military. Being a mountaintop city, most of the agricultural practices and farming at Machu Picchu were done on hundreds of man-made terraces which lined the side of the mountain. These terraces were an impressive feat of engineering as they were constructed with such good drainage and to optimize soil fertility, all while protecting the mountain itself from the effects of landslides and erosions. With the steep slope of the terraces, irrigation would have been a major challenge, but this wasn't an issue as experts estimate that Machu Picchu received more than 71 inches of rain per year. This was more than enough to support the vast number of crops grown and made any plans for irrigation non-existent. The major crops grown on these terraces were potatoes and corn, which were not enough to feed almost 1,000 people present in the city. This explains why recent excavations found evidence that most of what the locals in Machu Picchu ate were imported from various surrounding towns and valleys. Animals that are not indigenous to the relatively low Machu Picchu altitude, such as llamas and alpacas, were imported from other parts of the Inca Empire. These animals do not naturally live at such low altitudes and would have been dragged into the city. But the animals weren't just brought in for food, as remains found near burial sites and ceremonial areas indicated that these animals were used for funeral rites and other religious practices. The small city life of Machu Picchu would have functioned much like every other part of the Inca Empire, which operated without money as trades were made using the exchange of goods and services. Government taxes were paid in the form of labor obligations of each person to the Inca Empire, which explains the bone structure of remains discovered across the entire Inca region. Inca rulers, on the other hand, rewarded their subjects by granting access to food, land, and goods, as well as occasional celebratory feast and ceremonial events. It is assumed that the locals of Machu Picchu lived peacefully for well over 80 years. That was until the Spanish conquistadors invaded Peru in 1532. Much of the Inca Empire was destabilized as even larger cities fell to the advancing Spanish forces. Machu Picchu was not a fortified city or military stronghold, and it is believed that the occupants of the mountain city abandoned their homes to flee the prosecution of the Spanish conquerors. The ancient Inca Empire lacked the tools and military tactics needed to repel the Spanish forces, as they only had weapons made of stone, wood, copper, and bronze, none of which stood a chance against the steel armor of the Spaniards. Following the fall of the Inca Empire, many of the major cities were destroyed, including Machu Picchu. The Spanish conquistadors had no remorse for the excellent engineering structures put up by the Inca people. Archaeologists believe that the sophisticated farming system constructed by the Inca people at Machu Picchu was effectively destroyed by the Spanish in an effort to subjugate the Inca people. The subjugation of the Inca Empire was followed by the spread of disease which devastated the few remaining populations of the Incas. Smallpox ravaged the Peruvian countryside for more than a decade, was quickly followed by influenza and typhus outbreaks. Over the next century, influenza and measles would continually ravage what was left of the great Inca Empire till there was almost nothing left. Over the centuries, the jungle overtook this ancient city to the point where only a handful of people in the immediate surroundings knew of its existence, as there were no written chronicles of the great city on the hill. It wasn't until 1911 when an American explorer and professor at Yale University made the official discovery of the site, and it has since become a major tourist attraction and an important archaeological site. Today, Machu Picchu is both a UNESCO World Heritage Site and a national cultural attraction. The ruins of the city on the hill attracts well over 1 million tourists each year and remains the most visited tourist location in Peru. Do you think Machu Picchu is the last lost city of the Amazon, or do you think there might be more discoveries to come? Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you in the next video.